The dark space above Earth was suddenly filled with massive shadow. Huge ships arrived from nowhere without any warning. They were dark gray and shaped like sharp knives cutting through the space. There were hundreds of them moving together. They blocked the light of the distant stars. This was the Krell Empire. They had traveled across many galaxies to get here. They had beaten many worlds along the way. They never lost a fight in their long history. They thought they were the strongest beings in the entire universe. No one had ever stood against them and survived. On the biggest ship, called the Dominion, sat Queen Zyla. She was very tall and had skin like purple stone. She wore a heavy crown made of black metal and sharp edges. She sat on a high throne that looked out over the battlefield below. Her eyes were yellow and cold like ice. She looked at the blue planet floating in the dark. It looked small and weak to her. She had seen many planets like this before. They all begged for mercy in the end. She did not think humans would be different. She believed fear was the only language simple species understood. To her, humans were just another step in her winning wars. Queen Zyla raised her long hand. Her servants moved quickly to prepare the radio system. She wanted to speak to the humans before she destroyed their fleet. It was her way. She liked to hear them beg for their lives. It made her feel powerful. A signal was sent down to the human defense fleet. The signal carried her voice across the empty space. It was loud and harsh and full of hate. She said that humans must stop their ships immediately. She said they must give up all their weapons and machines. If they did not, she would burn their cities to ash. She promised that no one would survive the night. She laughed as she sent the message. She thought it was already over. She expected them to cry. On the human side, the message was received on the USS Independence. This ship was much smaller than the alien ones. It was made of thick steel and painted white and gray. It looked sturdy and built for hard work. Inside the bridge, the lights were dimmed to save power. The crew sat at their stations. They watched the big screen in front of them. They heard the Queen's voice clearly. It sounded angry and proud and very sure of itself. Commander Jack Cole sat in the center chair. He was a man with short brown hair and a calm face. He wore a simple blue uniform. He did not look scared. He did not look angry either. He just listened to the threats. Around him, the crew waited for his order. They were quiet. There was Lieutenant Paul at the radio desk. He was young and held his headset tightly. There was Ensign Susan at the steering station. Her hands were on the controls. They all looked at Jack. They wanted to know what to do. The air in the room was very quiet. You could hear the low hum of the engines vibrating through the floor. Jack leaned forward in his chair. He spoke into his microphone. His voice was steady and clear. He did not shout. He said that humanity would not surrender to bullies. He said that Earth was not afraid of invaders. He told the Queen that her ships were not welcome here. He said they should leave while they still could. Then he cut the connection. The screen went dark again. The room was silent for a second. Lieutenant Paul looked at Jack with wide eyes. He asked if that was wise. He said the aliens looked very powerful. Jack nodded slowly. He said that showing fear would only make the aliens attack faster. He said humans had to show strength to survive. The crew nodded back. They trusted their commander. They checked their systems again. They made sure the guns were ready to fire. They made sure the shields were up and strong. They were not heroes in a story. They were soldiers doing a job to protect their home. Back on the Dominion, Queen Zyla watched her screen. She heard the human response. She was silent for a moment. She did not expect this. Then she started to laugh. It was a loud and cruel sound that echoed in the room. Her guards joined in. They thought the humans were foolish. They thought Jack Cole was stupid and blind. They believed he did not understand the power facing him. Queen Zyla stood up from her throne. She walked to the front window. She looked at the small human ships floating in the dark. They looked like toys compared to her massive fleet. She felt no worry in her heart. She only felt annoyance. She decided to teach them a hard lesson. She wanted to break their spirit quickly. She raised her hand again. She gave the order to fire all weapons. She wanted to see the human ships explode. She wanted to see the fire in space. The alien weapons began to glow with energy. Green light built up at the tips of their guns. The human ships floated in the dark. They did not move away. They held their ground firmly. Jack Cole watched the enemy weapons charge up. He held his breath. He knew the first hit would be hard and painful, but he also knew his ship was strong enough to take it. The battle was about to start. The aliens thought it would be easy. They were very wrong. The silence of space was about to be broken by war. The green beams of energy shot through the dark space. They moved very fast like lightning. They hit the human ships with a loud boom that could be felt even in a vacuum. The USS Independence shook hard. The floor vibrated under boots of the crew. Lights on the ceiling flickered and went dim for a second. Red alarm lights started to spin around the bridge. The sound of sirens filled the air. It was loud and urgent. Everyone held on to their chairs or desks. They waited for the ship to break apart. They waited for the air to suck out into space. But the ship did not break. The thick steel hull held strong. The human engineers had built these ships for hard times. They did not rely on weak energy shields that could fail. They used layers of heavy metal and ceramic plates. The green energy burned the outside paint. It left black marks on the white steel, but it did not punch through. Inside the bridge, Commander Jack Cole held his armrest tightly. He waited for the shaking to stop. He looked at the main screen. Smoke was visible on the outside cameras, but the ship was still whole. Lieutenant Paul checked his console. His fingers moved fast over buttons. He looked up at Jack. He said that the shields were down a little bit, but the hull was intact. He said there were no big breaches. Jack nodded. He let out a slow breath. He spoke into the ship-wide speaker. He told the crew to stay calm. He told them to check their systems. He said they were still in the fight. The crew relaxed a little. They went back to work. They were surprised. They had heard stories about alien weapons. They thought nothing could stop them. But here they were, still floating, still ready. On another human ship, the USS Victory, Captain Mary Lane watched the same thing happen. Her ship took a direct hit too. She saw the green fire wash over her view screen. She waited for the destruction. It did not come. She spoke to Jack Cole over the radio. She said her ship was still good. She said the aliens were confused. Jack agreed. He said it was time to show them what humans could do. He gave the order to return fire. The human ships did not use green energy beams. They used big metal guns. These guns were called rail guns. They used magnets to throw heavy metal rods very fast. The rods were solid and heavy. They did not explode with energy. They hit with pure force. The human ships turned their guns toward the alien fleet. They fired all at once. A cloud of metal shots flew through the dark. They moved faster than the eye could see. The alien ships had shields made for energy weapons. They were not ready for solid metal. The metal rods hit the alien shields and punched right through. It was like throwing a stone through glass. The rods hit the gray skin of the alien ships. Metal tore open. Air rushed out into space. Small explosions happened inside the alien hulls. The alien ships were not built to take this kind of hit. They were built to shoot from far away. They were not built for a close fight. Queen Zyla watched her screen with wide eyes. She saw her ships taking damage. She saw smoke coming from her own flagship. She could not believe it. She had never seen shields fail like this. She stood up from her throne. She shouted at her gunners. She asked them why the human ships were not burning. She asked why their weapons were not working. The gunners were scared. They said the humans used primitive weapons. They said the metal projectiles should not work. But they were working. The queen felt a cold feeling in her stomach. It was not fear yet. It was confusion. She thought humans were weak. Now they looked strong. On the USS Independence, the crew cheered softly. They saw the hits on the screen. They saw the alien ships drifting. Jack Cole did not cheer. He stayed focused. He told Ensign Susan to move the ship closer. He wanted to get inside the alien defense range. He wanted to make sure every shot counted. Susan pushed the engines hard. The ship moved forward through the debris. Other human ships did the same. They formed a line. They moved like a wall of steel. They did not stop. They did not turn away. The alien fleet tried to move back. They wanted to get more distance. They wanted to use their energy beams again. But the humans were too fast. The human ships were smaller and quicker. They dodged the slow alien fire. They kept shooting their metal rods. More alien ships began to burn. The green lights on the alien guns went dark. The silence of space was filled with the debris of war. Small pieces of metal floated everywhere. Queen Zyla gripped the arms of her throne. Her knuckles were white. She looked at her advisors. They looked down at the floor. They did not have answers. The battle was not going as planned. The humans were not dying. The humans were fighting back harder. The Queen realized something important. These humans did not care about the odds. They did not care about the big alien ships. They only cared about winning. She had never faced enemies like this before. Usually, enemies ran away after the first shot. These humans just got angry. The battle was only starting, but the feeling in the air had changed. The aliens were no longer sure they were the hunters. High above the planet, a large space station floated in the dark. It was called the Eagle Station. Inside the command center, Admiral Steve Brown watched the battle on a big wall screen. He saw the human ships fighting hard. He saw the alien ships taking damage. But the alien fleet was still big. There were too many of them. Steve knew they needed to push harder. He needed to break their will to fight. He stood up from his desk. He walked to a control panel on the wall. It had a red cover. He lifted the cover. He pressed a button underneath. He spoke into his microphone. He told the fleet to release the drone swarms. Across the human ships, small doors opened. Thousands of small machines flew out. They looked like a cloud of metal bees. They moved fast and together. They flew straight toward the alien fleet. The alien ships tried to shoot them down. Their big guns were too slow. Their small guns could not hit enough of them. There were just too many drones. The small machines flew around the alien shields. They found the weak spots. They attached themselves to the alien hulls. Then they exploded. Small fires started on the alien ships. Engines began to fail. Lights went out on the enemy vessels. The alien formation broke apart. Ships drifted without power. They bumped into each other. Chaos spread through the Krell fleet. Queen Zyla watched her screen. She saw the smoke. She saw the warnings flashing red. She shouted at her crew. She asked where this attack came from. Her crew did not know. They were scared. They had never seen weapons like this. They thought humans were simple. Now they looked very clever. While the drones attacked the outside, humans attacked inside. The USS Independence moved close to a damaged alien cruiser. It locked its docking clamps onto the enemy hull. Metal claws dug into the alien steel. The connection was solid. Commander Jack Cole gave the order. He told the Marines to go. Sergeant Kate Ross stood at the airlock door. She checked her rifle. She wore heavy armor that covered her whole body. Her helmet had a green visor. She looked at her team. They were ready. They wanted to protect their home. The airlock hissed. The pressure changed. The door opened. Kate led the way. They stepped onto the alien ship. The air inside was thin and cold. The lights were flickering. Alien guards waited for them. They held long energy spears. They looked tall and scary. But Kate did not stop. She raised her shotgun. She fired. The sound was loud in the narrow hallway. The alien guard fell. The humans moved forward. They did not wait. They pushed into the ship room by room. The aliens were not ready for this fight. They were used to fighting from far away. They did not know how to fight in close halls. The humans were fast and strong. They used grenades and knives. They cleared the corridors quickly. Alien soldiers began to run away. They hid behind corners. They dropped their weapons. They had never seen enemies who kept coming no matter what. The humans did not stop for rest. They did not stop for fear. They just moved forward. Kate shouted orders to her team. They moved like a single unit. They were professional and deadly. The alien morale broke completely. They saw the humans coming, and they ran. Back on the Dominion, Queen Zyla saw the reports. She saw that her ships were being boarded. She saw that her soldiers were losing. She felt a cold sweat on her skin. This was not supposed to happen. She was a queen. She was supposed to win. She stood up and paced around her throne. She looked at her generals. They looked at the floor. They were ashamed. They were afraid. Zyla realized she could not win this battle. If she stayed, she would lose everything. She had to save herself. She had to save her empire. She sat back down. She spoke to her communication officer. She ordered a full retreat. She told him to send a signal to all ships. They were to leave immediately. They were to jump to save space. The officer nodded quickly. He sent the message. The alien ships began to turn away. Their engines glowed bright blue. They tried to run, but the human fleet did not let them go easily. Admiral Steve Brown spoke from the station. He told the human captains to pursue. He said there would be no mercy for invaders who threatened Earth. The human ships followed the fleeing aliens. They kept their guns locked on them. The hunters had become the hunted. The aliens were running for their lives. The battle had changed completely. The humans were in control now. The USS Independence flew through the floating debris of the battle. It moved straight toward the largest alien ship. This was the Dominion. It was the home of Queen Zyla. The human ship was smaller, but it was strong. Jack Cole gave the order to dock. The pilots lined up the ships carefully. The metal clamps on the human ship extended. They hit the side of the alien hull with a loud crash. The metal claws dug deep into the gray skin of the enemy vessel. The connection was tight. Air hissed as the seals locked together. They were now inside the enemy home. The vibration of the ship changed. It felt different being connected to the alien vessel. The hum of the engines mixed with the groan of metal holding tight. Jack Cole stood up from his chair. He put on a heavy helmet. He picked up a rifle. He looked at his officers. They did the same. They were not just pilots now. They were soldiers. Jack opened the airlock door. The light from the alien ship was dim and purple. It looked strange and cold. Jack stepped through first. His boots made a loud sound on the alien floor. The team followed him. They moved fast. They knew every second counted. The air inside smelled like ozone and burnt metal. It was not a good smell. It smelled like a fight. The gravity was slightly heavier here. It made their steps feel slow and heavy. Ahead of them, Sergeant Kate Ross was already fighting. Her team of Marines had cleared the first section. They met alien guards in the hallway. The guards wore shiny armor. They held long spears that glowed with energy. But the aliens were tired. They had lost many friends in the battle. They were scared. Kate fired her shotgun. The sound was very loud in the narrow hall. The alien guards fell down. Some dropped their weapons and ran away. They did not want to die. Kate signaled to Jack. The path was clear. They moved forward together. Their breathing was loud in their helmets. It was the only sound besides their footsteps. The Marines moved with perfect training. They covered each other. No one was left behind. The corridors of the Dominion were long and dark. The walls were made of smooth black stone. There were strange symbols glowing on the sides. The human team moved room by room. They checked every corner. They did not trust the aliens. Sometimes an alien would jump out from behind a door. The humans were ready. They shot quickly and moved on. They did not stop to talk. They did not stop to rest. Their goal was a bridge. They needed to find the Queen. The ship felt like a maze. But the humans kept moving straight. They followed the signs on the wall. They knew where the command center was. The alien design was sharp and aggressive. It matched the Queen's personality. Queen Zyla stood on her bridge. She watched the screens. She saw the humans getting closer. She saw her best guards falling down. She felt anger and fear mixed together. She had never lost before. She did not know how to lose. Her advisors were gone. They had run away or died. She was alone on the big chair. She looked at the control panel in front of her. There was a red button under a glass cover. It was a self-destruct system. If she pressed it, the ship would explode. It would kill the humans. It would kill her too. But she did not want the humans to win. She wanted to take them with her. Her hand shook as she reached for it. She thought about her empire. She thought about her pride. She decided death was better than surrender. Jack Cole and his team reached the main door of the bridge. It was large and heavy. It was locked. Jack signaled to his engineer. The engineer placed a small charge on a lock. They stepped back. The charge blue opened the door. Smoke filled the air. Jack walked through the smoke. His rifle was ready. He saw Queen Zyla sitting on her throne. She looked at him. Her yellow eyes were wide. She saw the humans standing in her room. She saw they were not afraid. She saw the guns pointing at her. The smoke swirled around her throne. She looked like a statue in the haze. Zyla moved her hand toward the console. She wanted to press the red button. Jack saw her move. He knew what she was doing. He shouted to his engineer. The engineer ran to the side panel. He plugged a cable into the alien computer. His fingers typed fast on his keyboard. He was hacking the system. Zyla pressed the button. Nothing happened. The light on the console turned green instead of red. Jack had stopped it. The self-destruct was disabled. The ship was safe. The engineer nodded to Jack. It was done. The screen showed the system was offline. Zyla looked at her hand. She looked at Jack. She realized she had no power left. Her weapons were gone. Her ship was captured. Her people were running. She sat back in her throne. She did not move. The humans surrounded her. They pointed their guns at her. She was trapped. The silence in the room was heavy. The queen of the Krell Empire had nowhere to go. She looked at the humans. She saw their strong faces. She saw their calm eyes. She understood, finally. She could not beat them. The battle was over. The war was over. She waited for what would happen next. She knew she was in their hands now. The fear she had never felt before was finally here. It was inside her heart. She looked at Jack and waited for him to speak. The silence on the bridge was heavy and thick. The only sound was the low hum of the alien machines and the breathing of the human soldiers. Queen Zyla sat on her throne. She looked small now. Her purple skin looked gray in the dim light. Her crown sat crooked on her head. She looked at Jack Cole. She looked at the guns pointed at her. She knew it was over. The fear she had never felt before was now all she could feel. It filled her chest. It made her hands shake. She had always been the one making others shake. Now the roles were reversed. Zyla slowly stood up. She did not try to fight. She did not try to run. She knew there was no point. She stepped down from her throne. Her boots made a soft sound on the floor. She walked to the center of the room. Then she did something no one expected. She fell to her knees. She bowed her head low. Her voice was quiet and shaky. She spoke to Jack Cole. She begged for her life. She begged for the lives of her crew. She said that there were laws in the galaxy. She said that winners must show mercy to losers. She promised that the Krell Empire would never come back to human space. She said they would stay away forever. She sounded desperate. The proud queen was gone. Only a scared leader remained. Jack Cole watched her. He did not smile. He did not frown. He kept his rifle ready. He listened to her words. He knew this was a big moment. What he did next would change everything. He tapped his radio. He spoke to Admiral Steve Brown on the station. He told the Admiral what was happening. He said the Queen was surrendering. He asked for orders. There was a crackle of static on the line. Steve Brown spoke back. His voice was calm and strong. He said that humanity was not cruel. He said humans did not kill enemies who gave up. But he said there must be rules. There must be safety for Earth. Jack nodded. He cut the connection. He looked down at Zyla. He told her to stand up. She stood up slowly. She waited for his judgment. Jack spoke clearly. He said that humanity would grant mercy. He said they would not destroy her ship. He said they would not harm her people. But there were conditions. The Krell fleet had to turn off all weapons. They had to give up their codes. Queen Zyla would stay under human watch. She would make sure her people kept the peace. If they broke the rules, the mercy would end. The consequences would be total. Zyla nodded quickly. She agreed to everything. She was just happy to be alive. Kate Ross stepped forward. She took the Queen's weapon belt. She checked the room for any other threats. The human crew began to secure the bridge. They took control of the consoles. Lieutenant Paul worked on the communication system. He opened a channel to the rest of the alien fleet. He broadcasted the message. He told them the battle was over. He told them to power down their engines. One by one, the green lights on the alien ships went dark. The massive fleet drifted in space. They were harmless now. The threat was gone. Back on Earth, people watched the news. They saw the reports coming in. They saw the pictures of the captured flagship. They cheered in the streets. They had been scared when the ships arrived. Now they felt safe. But this was not just about Earth. Admiral Steve Brown ordered a wider transmission. He sent the story to every star system they could reach. He wanted other aliens to know. He wanted them to know what happened here. He wanted them to know that humans were strong. He wanted them to know that humans were brave. But he also wanted them to know that humans were fair. The message traveled through the dark space. It went to distant worlds. Other civilizations heard the story. They heard about the queen, who never feared anyone. They heard about how she pleaded for mercy. They heard about the humans who won, but did not destroy. This changed things in the galaxy. Before this, many species thought humans were weak. They thought humans were soft. Now they knew the truth. Humanity was a power to respect. They were not hunters looking for blood. They were guardians protecting their home. Jack Cole stood on the bridge of the Dominion. He looked out the window. He saw the human ships floating nearby. They looked small but proud. He saw the alien ships drifting in the dark. They were quiet now. The war was done. He felt tired but happy. He knew this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges. There would be more tests. But today, humanity had passed. They had stood strong against a giant enemy. They had shown mercy when they could have shown wrath. Queen Zyla sat in a corner of her own bridge. She was watched by 2 Marines. She looked out at the stars. She thought about her mistake. She had underestimated humans. She had thought fear was the only way to rule. She was wrong. Humans fought because they loved their home. That made them stronger than any empire. The story of this day would be told for many years. It would be a warning to anyone who thought about attacking Earth. The